When I was 13, my parents had just moved us into this quiet little neighborhood outside of Minneapolis, not fully countryside, but close enough that our backyard opened into a thick patch of woods that went on for what felt like miles. We had a cozy, split-level home, freshly painted white with red shutters, and for the first few months, it really felt like a dream. But then, one weekend changed all of that. My parents had to drive out of town for my aunt's surgery, something about needing to help take care of her overnight. They offered to bring me along, but I had a school project due Monday, and I convinced them I'd be fine by myself. I was 13 and desperate to prove I could handle being alone. They agreed, stocked the fridge, left me a list of emergency numbers, reminded me to lock the doors, told me they'd be back by Sunday night. The first night alone was fine, honestly, kind of fun. I made microwave popcorn, stayed up late watching horror movies on my laptop, and fell asleep on the living room couch. But around 3:20 a.m., I woke up. Not from a nightmare or anything. I just woke up, like something shook me out of sleep. The TV had gone to static. The only sound in the house was the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak from the wooden floor. But something felt off. I sat up, rubbed my eyes. Then I noticed the kitchen light was on. I hadn't left it on, and that's when I saw it. A face. At first, my brain refused to process what I was seeing. I thought maybe it was a reflection, or maybe a Halloween decoration, even though it was February. But no, it was a man. He was standing just outside, his face literally flattened against the glass, pale skin, thin lips, wide eyes. His forehead left a faint greasy smear on the window pane. He wasn't blinking. He wasn't moving. He was just watching. I froze. Every muscle in my body went tight. My breath got shallow. I reached for my phone, which I'd left on the coffee table, but in my panic, I accidentally knocked it onto the floor with a loud thump. And that's when he moved. Not fast, not aggressive, just reactive. His head tilted slightly, like a curious dog, still staring. Then, slowly, so slowly, he raised his hand and began to tap on the glass. Tap, tap, tap. That soft, deliberate rhythm made my skin crawl. I ducked down behind the couch, heart hammering in my chest, and crawled toward the hallway. I wanted to call the police, but my phone had slid under the table, too far to grab without being seen. So instead, I crept upstairs, toward my parents' bedroom. They had a lock on their door, and, more importantly, an old landline phone plugged in next to the bed. I locked the door behind me and called 911 with trembling fingers. I whispered everything, that someone was outside, that he'd been tapping on the glass, that I was home alone. The dispatcher told me to stay calm and stay put. A patrol car was on the way. I sat there, curled up next to the dresser, listening to my own heartbeat echo in my ears. Then I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. But it wasn't the kitchen window this time. It was closer. The upstairs bathroom, right next to my parents' bedroom. There's a small frosted window in there, the kind that barely opens, an ISNT supposed to be reachable from outside. I don't even know why I did it, but I crawled to the bathroom door, peeked through the crack, and sure enough, there he was. His face was somehow at the second-story window, tilted sideways, fogging the glass with his breath. I stumbled back and slammed the bathroom door shut, then rushed back to the phone and told the dispatcher he was upstairs now. She said to stay quiet. Help was minutes away. But I didn't feel safe, not even with the door locked. Because if he could get up to that window, what else could he get into? Then everything went silent. No tapping, no footsteps, just dead, oppressive, quiet, until I heard a soft click from downstairs, the back door. I know I locked it, I triple-checked, but maybe I missed something. Maybe I didn't close it all the way, because now I could hear the door creak open. Then footsteps, slow, measured, heavy, coming up the stairs. I whispered into the phone, "He's inside, he's in the house." The dispatcher told me to hide, not make a sound, and stay on the line. I ducked into my parents' closet, pulled the door shut, and tried not to breathe. My entire body was shaking. I clutched the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs, then paused, then turned down the hall, toward the master bedroom. I could hear the knob rattle, the door creaked, just a little. I hadn't locked it hard enough. The latch didn't catch. He was in the room. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Through the crack in the closet door, I saw a shadow pass over the floor. Then tap, tap, tap. He was tapping on the closet door. My heart nearly stopped. And then, "Police, open up." The voice came from downstairs. It was loud, firm, real. I didn't wait. I kicked the closet door open, sprinted through the bedroom, and flung the door wide. The man was gone, like completely vanished. No footsteps, no sign. The officers were already coming up the stairs. They searched the entire house, nothing, but the back door was wide open. And out in the backyard, half buried in the snow, were footprints leading to the side of the house, and a muddy ladder. One we didn't own, one we'd never seen before. This happened to my older brother, Chris, back in 2017, when he was a senior in high school. It's one of those stories he never talks about, unless he's had a couple drinks. And even then, he keeps it short. He was house-a-siting for one of his teachers, a quiet, older lady who lived alone in a nice 2-story home on the edge of town. Big yard, long gravel driveway, wooded on both sides. The kind of place that feels safe because it's far from everything. She'd gone to visit family in Florida for a week and offered Chris a couple $100 to stay there, take care of her cat, water the plants, all that. The first few nights were easy. He'd feed the cat, crash on the couch, do his homework. Nothing weird. But on Friday, something changed. It was around 11:45 p.m. He was lying on the couch, scrolling through TikTok, with the cat curled up at his feet, when he heard a soft crunch outside. Gravel, like someone stepping onto the driveway. At first, he thought it was just the wind, or maybe a raccoon. But then it happened again. Crunch, crunch, slow, deliberate steps. He muted his phone and sat up. No footsteps now, just silence. He got up, walked over to the front window, and pulled back the curtain just a little. There was a man, standing halfway down the driveway, not moving, just staring at the house. Chris said he didn't look homeless or drunk, just normal, jeans, hoodie, face shadowed by a baseball cap. At first, Chris thought maybe the guy was lost or waiting for someone, but he didn't move, didn't knock, didn't say anything. He just stood there. After a minute, Chris flicked the porch light on. Still nothing. Then, without warning, the guy took a step closer, then another, and another. Chris locked the front door and stepped back. The man was walking now, slow, steady, like he knew exactly where he was going. Chris bolted upstairs, turned off all the lights, and peeked out from the second-story bedroom window. The man was now at the base of the porch steps, looking up, but not at the window, at the house, at the structure. like he was analyzing it. Then he walked around the side, disappearing out of view. Chris rushed to the back window. Nothing. Then a faint rattle. The back door handle. Someone was trying to open it. He called 911. Told them someone was on the property, trying to get in. Dispatcher told him to stay inside, stay quiet. Help was on the way. He grabbed a fireplace poker, only weapon he could find, and stood near the stairs, listening. Then silence again. Not footsteps, not breathing, just that dead quiet that feels wrong. Minutes passed. The police still weren't there. Then a soft tap on the front door. Not a knock, a tap. Then again, tap, tap, tap. Chris didn't move. Then came the voice. I know you're in there. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. Just casual, like someone talking through a smile. Come open the door, just for a second. Chris backed up toward the kitchen, heart pounding. I'm not gonna hurt you. I just want to talk. He looked out through the peephole and froze. The guy was pressed up against the door, one hand cupped around the glass, the other behind his back, smiling. Then, the sound of tires on gravel, headlights flashed across the yard. The guy bolted off the porch and disappeared into the trees. The police had arrived. They searched the property, but there was no sign of him. No name, no license plate, nothing. Just footprints, leading from the woods, and then back into the dark. Chris filed a report, stayed the last night with a friend. But here's the part that still messes with him. The next morning, the teacher came home early. She thanked him, asked how things went, and Chris told her what happened. Her face went pale. She didn't say much, just quietly nodded. Later that night, she called Chris's mom, said something weird had happened. When she opened the coat closet near the front door, there was a note, folded and taped to the inside wall. It said, "Next time, I'll wait inside." I used to live in a small apartment building on the 3rd floor. Nothing fancy, just a quiet little place outside of Denver, tucked behind a gas station and a rundown laundromat. The kind of complex where everyone nods hello, but no one really knows their neighbors. Back then, I worked night shifts at a 24-hour pharmacy, so my schedule was flipped. I'd get home around 3:30 in the morning, crash by 4, and sleep until noon. This story happened in January. I remember because it had just snowed the night before. One of those heavy, wet snows that muffles the entire world, makes everything too quiet. I came home that night, as usual, parked, climbed the stairs to my unit, 3B, and noticed something weird. There were footprints in the snow on the walkway, not mine. These were smaller, barefoot, like someone had walked along the outside hallway in the middle of the night without shoes. I paused, looked around. No one was there. Nothing seemed broken. No doors open. Just those faint, wet prints melting into the concrete. Weird, but I was exhausted, so I just shook it off. I locked up behind me, microwaved something, and went to bed. Now, I have blackout curtains in my room. Not because I'm paranoid or anything, just because I sleep during the day. And on that night, I remember waking up around 5:12 a.m. I checked the clock, and I had that feeling, you know the one, like someone's watching you. At first, I thought it was just a dream, but then I heard it, a soft scrape against the glass. I turned my head, and my stomach dropped. There was a shape behind the curtain, pressed up against the balcony door, frozen, motionless. At first, I thought maybe it was a reflection. But then the curtain shifted, just slightly, and I saw a handprint pressed against the glass. I sat straight up, and the moment I moved, it moved to the silhouette, tilted its head. Then a whisper, so faint, I almost missed it. I see you. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I grabbed my phone and called the building's security number, but it just rang. The only way onto the balcony was through the living room. That door was locked. I always lock it. I got up, slowly, and crept toward the curtain. My heart was pounding so loud I could feel it in my teeth. I grabbed the edge and yanked it back. There was nothing. No one. Just fog on the glass where the hand had been. I opened the door, stepped outside, and looked over the railing. Fresh footprints, bare, human, leading across the snow-covered balcony to my neighbor's unit. But here's the thing. No one lived in 3A. It had been empty for months. Still, I walked over and peeked into the glass. Dark, empty. But just as I turned to go back, I heard a knock from inside 3A. I froze. The lights were off, blinds closed, no movement. Then the knocking came again, but softer. Knock, knock, knock. And then a voice, you forgot to lock the door. I turned and ran, slammed my own balcony door shut, locked every bolt, drew the curtain. I didn't sleep. In the morning, I told the building manager. She swore no one had keys to 3A, said it had been completely vacant. No utilities, no furniture, nothing. But when she finally opened the unit later that afternoon, there were wet footprints inside, trailing through the empty living room, stopping just behind the balcony door. She changed the locks on every unit that same day, put security cameras up too, but here's the part that still makes my skin crawl. 2 nights later, I came home from work and found something wedged in my doorframe, a Polaroid. No name, no message, just a photo of me, sleeping.